It's a podcast. Peace, everybody. I'm the Hood Mystic, and let's get ready for this podcast edition of the Conscious News Network. I represent LearnSidereal.com, so the content that we'll be discussing today, you can get the full articles, which are located at LearnSidereal.com. However, I wanted to talk about it as well as write about it. So this is just the podcast version of the two articles that I put out today. I've been working on these articles for the past 2 weeks, and part of the new direction of my channel is just more thought out content and direct information. Probably going to do more entertainment, more covering events and things of that nature, and finding the spiritual angle to it. The tagline that I developed in creating this content is real news from a real perspective. The conversation that I'm going to have with y'all today is going to be extremely spiritual in the fact of it being streamlined information, meaning that we're going to start mundane and slowly inch our way into the spiritual. And the reason that I call it a podcast is because I really want people to listen. If you're an artist or you're a writer or you have a hobby, I would like this to be more like background music as I go through news clippings, scholarly articles, real shit that maybe your favorite news program don't cover. However, I just want to bring this information. And as I do this, I want to motivate everybody to exercise and move through their fear, because as I always would want to do content like this, what has stopped me was the overall fear that I had in reference to me putting out information or content that was bigger than myself. So, like the video, subscribe to the channel, as it will be the slight motivation for me to continue going with what I'm doing. Another thing that I would like y'all to do, if you're interested in doing it after this video is over, or if you're watching this video post live, if you're listening to this on Apple iTunes, wherever you can, email me, hoodmystic@gmail.com, and simply tell me some news stories that you would like to get a spiritual twist on. I do a lot of investigation throughout my normal day, even in the space of working and, getting the vittles. I still do a lot of studying and research and take a lot of notes on my downtime. So without further ado, let's get into these notes. And not customarily normal for me to talk about the opioid epidemic, although I do have videos where I have addressed the opioid epidemic when I went to visit my mother in Boston, Massachusetts, 2020. Like, the lockdown was happening and all of that. I was shooken to the core at all of the people who were doing drugs out in the open. A whole community of people just strung out on heroin. And the thing that was jarring to me about Boston is that I never really, even though I know it's some do dirty energy in Boston, but for the most part, especially downtown, it is hoity toity. So to see it, it was really like a riot scene, or like the world had completely flipped. And at that time, I figured that this was the real epidemic, and whatever was being shown to us on the TV was kind of like the smoke screen. Because you know somebody who has been affected by opioids. If not, you've directly been affected by opioids. And it's not a matter of getting a shot or doing any existential thing to rid yourself of this epidemic, because the root of this epidemic is what the purpose of this new segment is to really suss out the root of why are people even deciding to use drugs. And when we say opioids, you know, not to exclude black people, but them Percocets y'all be buying, them Perc 10s, 20s and 30s that y'all be buying that don't nobody know that y'all be buying, that's opioids. And be careful with that, because sometimes when you buying opioids from people, they don't actually be opioids. They be what is called fentanyl. And you might just be casually doing drugs, getting the edge off. But going into 2022, it's really important that you deal with the facts of why do you engage in destructive behaviors. And it might not be you. You might need to have this conversation with your daughter, with your mother, with your cousin, with your uncle, or with your brother. And just because they're not covering it on the news doesn't mean that your people that you love the most are suffering. So I'm pulling from The Guardian. They've just put out an article a couple of days ago on the number one killer of human beings in America, ages 18 to 45. Number one killer, not the thing that will get you flagged and banned, but yes, opioids is the number one thing that's taking people out, young people out. And if you sit back and analyze the world, it becomes to be so clear as to why so many people are engaging in drugs outside of the technicals. Let's just deal with some technical aspects surrounding the opioid epidemic evolution into 2022, because more than Percocets, it is the fentanyl. And the fentanyl is an evolution, meaning that the opioid epidemic might get worse before it gets better due to the inundation of fentanyl. If you don't know what fentanyl is, have a seat and sit down and open up your mind to new information, because if you have children and you say, well, I love my children, do you show them that you love them? Because it's, say, moms and dads, they mastered that shit. I love you, son. I love you, daughter. And that's it. That's the limit of love that we know in our community. So really opening yourselves up to your family and really developing a real understanding around love, because at the end of the day, all of this spiritual shit that you wishing for and hoping for, all this motivational shit is not working in real life. It's actually making you somewhat crazy, because people are not evolving and maturing spiritually. They're just holding on to the same motifs and the same ideologies. But to really address the real spiritual shit, you're going to have to address your loneliness. Because I'm talking about this because I'm literally on the internet, right? I'm talking on the internet, meaning that you're probably on the internet looking at this content. You probably been on your phone the whole entire day before you got into this content, right? Meaning that the internet and people that watch my content, more than likely they some lonely people. Because of the medium. It's not like I'm talking in a club and it's a family gathering. Generally, people are listening to this alone. But if you normalize being alone, taking care of your business, being on top of your stuff, you also put yourself in the area for fear and destructive behaviors. Because when you're alone, you can do destructive things to yourself. You can do destructive things to yourself when you're alone. However, the overall point that we'll be getting to is, how do you open yourselves up to relationships? Outside of just doing the thing that's comfortable, which these corporations and companies have you completely fixated on your personal pathway, and they call it algorithms, meaning that your Facebook feed, your Instagram feed, your YouTube feed, your Spotify feed, all of your different various feeds, your Tumblr feed is completely identical to you, which might feel good and sound cool, but ultimately is closing you out from different content creators, different music that you could vibe to, different videos that you could watch and learn from. You could literally be on YouTube and think like, man, it ain't shit to watch on YouTube, but at the same time, 50 million hours of content get uploaded every day. And the only content that you get fed on your feed, literally feeding you, is a limited array of what the artificial intelligence thinks that you should be watching. So it's a rigged game is what I'm trying to say, outside of you learning how to develop relationships in the real 3D world and not within the metaverse. Because nothing that I can tell you in the realms of spirituality is going to matter if you don't understand the technique and the application, and you actually have to put yourself in the 3D area of automation to really get this spiritual shit down packed. We sometimes think of it as a hobby or something to listen to, or somebody is going to break down a wonderful download. But what I'm picking up and what I'm receiving is, if we don't start to acknowledge and conquer our fear through the modality of shadow work, then everything is due to be lost. But you can kind of see how everything is due to be lost if you begin to open your eyes and walk around the community. And the reason why you can't walk around the community as much is because a lot of these communities is completely overran by drugs and gangs. In 2020, 2019, you could say pharmaceuticals, the drugs were coming from prescriptions and things of that nature, but that is an old story. The new story is fentanyl, and fentanyl is being sent in through the drug trade, right? So as is stated in this Guardian article, the supply is no longer coming from doctors as much. Now you are finding the drugs that the Mexican trafficking world produces, primarily fentanyl and methamphetamines, and the methamphetamines are being produced differently now. Because when methamphetamines were first being produced, they were being produced with ephedrine. You know, the show that we all like watching, Breaking Bad, right? And they were making meth on that show. But they cracked down. See, the government cracked down on the ways of making the drugs, but see, it didn't stop the makers from doing different things. And so they got tanning products, rat poisoning, all things that shouldn't be in your body, but have been formulated to make this new form of meth. And the people that take the meth just lose their mind completely. So what you see in a lot of communities is a homeless problem, but you don't sit and ask them what drugs they taking. Because once you start to see that everybody in this homeless community is taking meth, then it becomes clear to you that, oh, this meth is driving people crazy into zombies. Now, of course, you don't do that. You don't know much about it. I'm just trying to open your mind to see the world around you is mainly due to zombies that use drugs all the time. And we're not talking about smoking the little blunts from the dispensary. We're talking about hard core, methamphetamines, and fentanyl. Okay? And these are extremely dangerous drugs, as the article continues to say. Fentanyl is the deadliest drug we've ever known in the streets, and meth has the capabilities of truly turning people mentally ill. These drugs are now all over the country and cheaper and more prevalent than ever before. Now, fentanyl is something that is new on the market, right? It's not new. It's an old drug, right? And it's more powerful than morphine. It's more powerful than Percocets. It's more powerful than opioids. It's extremely powerful. And so when we say powerful, that means that a little goes a longer way. And when we say a little goes a longer way, if you do a lot, then that takes you out the game. So what we're talking about are opioids, and opioids are drugs that, for lack of a better words, relieve or reduce pain. The thing about pain is that we have mental pain, emotional pain, physical pain, and we have spiritual pain. The person that is abusing hard drugs is in so much pain that they've created a zombie-like attitude and disposition about themselves, to the point that the pain that they need to soothe can only be found in these opioids. And to know that you could possibly die from taking it isn't enough to stop you from using it, is telling you how powerful that these drugs are when it comes to the psyche. And one could say, I don't want to ever do drugs. I don't want my children to ever do drugs. But what I'm trying to point out to you is that if you don't address loneliness, if you don't have sincere conversations, if you don't display love, not through buying them shit, not through providing, but getting into their soul and making sure that they are loved from that perspective, that they have a connection to source, because sometimes you're not going to be the one that is going to be there to provide them with positive energy. They need to figure it out for themselves. But if you buying them shit, you doing things for them, you're telling them that you love them, but you're not specifically showing them that you love them. You could tell your kids that you love them 1,000,000 times. They'll still internalize that you hate them, because kids are not stupid. You knew that your parents really didn't fuck with you no matter what they said. This is why you began to play games and manipulate the situation. So keep that in mind when you tell your children or you tell your friends and family to kiss your ass, but then want to be Captain Save-A-Ho with perfect strangers on the internet. I want to save people, but here it is, your best friend is sitting here suffering, and you can't even have a conversation with them to let them know that, hey, you don't even have to feel alone because I'm here for you. Okay, so fentanyl is used as a pain medication, and it can also be used as an anesthesiatic, meaning it puts you in a comatose state before surgery. It is also used as a recreational drug. You can mix it with heroin, cocaine, and methamphetamines. But its potentially deadly overdose effects can be neutralized by naloxone. So in certain communities, paramedics carry with them this actual like little stick that they get the 911 call, such and such have an overdose. They get there as fast as they can and hit them with I think they call it Narcan, but forgive my ignorance, right? But they have this thing that they pop in their heart and bring them back to life. See, That's the thing about drugs. You could go so far into darkness, but you can also have an antidote. The thing of it is, the paramedics ain't going to be everywhere all the time. So even with this cure, it's still the number one killer. And I'm going to show y'all the degree for which that fentanyl is killing our brothers and sisters out here in these streets. But we can have our personal goals. This is why I don't really like spiritual people, because spirituality to me is sharing in a way that makes you uncomfortable, that makes you vulnerable. It's like going to a homeless shelter and ministering to the people that don't got no homes. When you talk to these spiritual people, they don't give a fuck about the poor and downtrodden. Just look at their websites and their pages and shit like that. They be having exorbitant prices. They be really going for people who got money and shit like that, because they ain't really giving a fuck about actually here. Like, I done had conversations with people, and it's like, you know, you got to get the motherfuckers with money because, you know, they stupid to a lesser or greater degree. They'll just, they want to give you their money, right? But at the same time, how can we begin to pinpoint and actually heal real shit and not just be going for niggas with money, right? That's the real question. Fentanyl is commonly used, and you gotta really, this is what's going to get your friends and family the most. And it's going to be the people who just getting a Percocet to take the edge off. I can't sleep at night. I just need a little Percocet here and there. You know, they treat it like smoking weed. It ain't a big deal to a lot of people. Pluto and Scorpio generation, they'll pop a pill in a heartbeat. Like, you know, Pluto and Scorpio generation is real, because this whole, you done heard a song where a motherfucker done wrote a song talking about a pill. Now, I'm from the Pluto and Libra generation, relationship, seventh house, love, you know? In the 80s, niggas was love songs, Rick James, Tina Marie, Fire and Desire. You know, that's the kind of music that my parents was listening to when they was fucking. These kids now, parents listening to Molly Percocet. Y'all really gotta look at the degradation of a fucking species. That really don't make no fucking sense for some grown ass people to be really, not even that they made the song, because people can make any song that they want, but motherfuckers will turn that goddamn Mask Off song up like Percocet, Molly Percocet. Percocet, but really that's an opioid. Really, that could kill you if you take a Percocet from the wrong person. You literally can take a Percocet, go to sleep, and not wake up. Fentanyl is commonly used to create counterfeit drugs marketed as Oxycontin, Xanax, Adderall, and other pills. Don't ever buy a pill off a nigga. Don't ever buy a pill don't get a pill from your doctor is what I feel like. But I'm just saying, make sure, right? Don't buy pills off the street in 2022. Figure out some other shit going on, you know, some other solutions, which we'll be talking about later in this broadcast. But please, these people is making these pills and they putting a little bit of this and a little bit of that, and they don't give a fuck if you take it and you die. Right? So really start to address the core issues and reasons that would even lead you to feel like you need to do these types of things. Because I'd be lying if I said I didn't never take a Percocet in my life ever. Being young out in the streets, like just thinking like, oh, you know, your girl go to the hospital for a fucking car accident. She get Percocets and you just like, well, fuck it, you know, whatever. But shit, I didn't like it. So, you know, it didn't work for me. But it's a lot of motherfucking doctors that gave people Percocets and it turned them into opioid addicts. Another thing about fentanyl, the crazy thing about fentanyl is that it only lasts for a couple of hours. Now, a heroin addict they can get high once in a day, right? As long as they don't, like, for heroin addicts, they'd be like, I'm feeling sick. But that's what the opioids, you start feeling sick with the Percocets and all of that too, right? But you can do one pill a day and kind of skate by and shit like that. The fentanyl is a little bit different. It's only getting you high for 2 hours and you gotta get it again. This is another reason why a lot of people are dying. It is said further in this Guardian article, fentanyl is responsible for over 70% of overdoses in the US. The thing about fentanyl, which is very appealing to the drug trafficking world, is that it is so potent. A very small amount will make you a lot of money. And please don't get no bright ideas. Niggas like, oh yeah? What Hood just say? 1 kilo of fentanyl can be cut and turned into 50 kilos of sellable product on the street. You said 1 kilo turn into 50? I can 50 times my money, Hood? I don't think that you meant to put it like that, but you did put it like that. This was a good broadcast, Hood. I'm about to call my uncle and them up the way, though. Nice talking to you. You gotta put a little sprinkle, a little funny in every now and again, because y'all be too serious and too spiritual at the same time, or too goofy. Sometimes y'all just be goofy, not funny. But because it's so potent, it also can kill people very, very quickly. A few small specks, similar to a few grains of salt, can make you high, and a little bit more than that can kill you. Wait a second. A few small specks, similar to a few grains of salt, can make you high, and a little bit more can kill you. A fentanyl high lasts a short period of time compared to heroin, so people who are addicted have to use it several times a day. And every time they use, they run the risk of getting a mix far more potent than they can handle, which means you're essentially playing Russian roulette several times a day. Now that is a drug habit. You going to the dispensary every now and again, spending your $50 on the goddamn 3.5, and you feeling all guilty because you smoking weed. You don't even need to feel guilty because you smoke a blunt every now and again. Get over yourself. Motherfuckers is playing Russian roulette with their life for the sake of getting high. And at the same time, you got people feeling like, well, you know, I smoke weed, so I'm the devil. I'm going to hell. Welcome to the Conscious News Network, where we present a real perspective with real news. We talking about the things that mainstream media would never talk about. However, the information is out there, and I feel like it's my job to present it to the people who need to hear it. And I say all of that to say, my men, you out here going out bad. You out here doing all of the dope and dying because of it, mainly because you lonely. That yellow line that you see is the men. That orange line that you see is the women. Still women catching bodies off this goddamn drug overdose energy, but men, oh my, oh, whoa. Y'all need to stop, doing the grandiose. The thing about recovery services is in jail, they really taught me about drug abusing. And they put a word in my mind, and sometimes when I get words in my mind, they just like seeds, and they flourish and they grow. And the word that was put in my mind was grandiosity. Drug abusers want to do the most drugs, and especially men. We want to do drugs like it's a contest, like it means if we could just do more drugs, that just makes us better, as opposed to the fact that we're fucking junkies and is not fucking playing basketball. And the thing about these stats is that these are 2020 stats. You can't get 2021 stats. You got to do a lot of data. You got to crunch a lot of numbers. So in 2020, we get the 2020 stats, right? In 2023, we get the 2021 stats. Guarantee you this number is going to be at 110, 120 for 2021. Because the thing about drugs is that people don't stop using them. Especially if the root of why you're doing the drugs is not being addressed. Because we getting more isolation. They coming up with more sanctions. They saying, hey, don't be around your family on Christmas. Don't be around your family on Thanksgiving. Y'all fighting if y'all got the shot. If y'all didn't get the shot, you haven't talked to your family in months. So you could look at the fentanyl abuser like it sucks to be them, and the fentanyl abuser say, you just like me. You just haven't evolved in your darkness yet. Wait for it. Because everything has a root. It's a reason why you wouldn't never think to do drugs, because you got a strong network and a strong support system. But just imagine if you didn't have that. Imagine if you didn't have your support system. Right? It's deep like that. Got another graph off the CDC website. I'm going to get it a little bigger. Now, this is below the little bunch of scraggly lines is how motherfuckers used to die. You know, motherfuckers get high from time to time, overdose. You know, it wasn't no epidemic. But as you see, from 2015 onward, the amount of synthetic opioids other than methadone that's created death, primarily fentanyl, has dramatically outperformed all other drugs. And the thing about fentanyl, it don't come from a plant. You make it in a chemical lab. And the drug dealer said, you know what? We gonna leave the coca leaves alone. Ain't nobody smoking crack no more. Motherfuckers smoking weed. And motherfuckers is doing fentanyl. Because that's all the motherfuckers is making. Motherfuckers is doing methamphetamines. Drug dealers have decided, you know what? It's going to kill a lot of people, but we going to make a lot of money. So we going to make this money. I don't give a fuck. So all you can begin to do is start to do the inner work, so you don't even have to live in that realm to decide to even make these types of decisions, because it's all in resultant of pain. See, the physical pain is a result, and it could be a car accident, but emotionally, mentally, spiritually, that physical pain can break you down, and then it becomes to be a domino effect of sickness and disease that was already there. So you get into a car accident, you break your leg, you break your foot, and now you start taking the Percocets, but the Percocet starts talking to your emotions. The Percocets start feeling real good when you taking them beyond your leg. So you like, damn, I done ran out of pills. Let me go back to the doctor. Get another fucking prescription. Your leg feel fucking fine. You and the doctor talking about, yeah, this motherfucking leg still hurt like a summer bitch, doc. I think I need a double dose of them. Oh, my leg hurt real bad. And I be having flashbacks of the car accident. You got some Xanax too, doc? I think I'm going to do a double dose of the Xanax and the perk because my leg hurt and my mind hurt, doc. Yeah, I need that. And it's like, by the time it gets to the physical, you've already been tapped into zombie mode emotionally, mentally, and spiritually. The physical pain is spirit's last choice to wake your ass up. Because you got free will down here. You can wake up and decide to fucking eat a fucking bacon, egg, and cheese sandwich. And motherfuckers ain't even gonna say nothing bad to you. I'm gonna ask you, why the hell you eating goddamn pigs and eggs and shit in the morning? What's all of that about? Nobody else gonna do that though. So we're cruising on along. I want to deal with the root of drug usage. And like I said, I perused the internet for all types of weird shit, such as scholarly articles from smart ass people, 10 times more smarter than me, that's going to do the studies and the backbreaking research to come to the inevitable conclusion that I already had before y'all did all of that shit. But I appreciate y'all doing it and documenting it. But I'm gonna share this information with the family, because the family, they might not be thinking about, perusing the goddamn scholarly journals and things of that nature. They might be on Shade Room or shit. We be liking the same goddamn pictures on Shade Room, so I know the vibes, I know the energy. But before you start pointing fingers at the drug addicts, I'm gonna need y'all to read this goddamn scholarly article with me one time for the 2 times and the 3 times, okay? Emotional and social loneliness in individuals with and without substance dependence disorder. Compiled the information by a name that I'm not even going to pronounce, y'all. I'm not pronouncing these names. I'm not even about to give y'all that energy today. I'm giving y'all nothing but positive energy. If I start trying to pronounce these names, y'all will be feeling the negative vibrations of me attempting and trying to do something that I know I can't fucking do. So let's continue. I presented this scholarly article, so maybe you can screenshot it and read the whole thing at your leisure, but I got a video to do, so we're going to go straight to the conclusion. We're going to go straight to the good part. And I need you to ask yourself, because as we get deeper into the spiritual aspects of this build, it's easy to talk about people that's doing fentanyl and you ain't got no means to do fentanyl. You don't want to do fentanyl. But I'm going to tell you something about recovery service. I went to prison, and the standout of prison was recovery services, because I've learned so much about myself and the lessons that I learned in recovery services. I went to jail in 2003. I'm still utilizing them today in 2022. And one of the main lessons that I learned in recovery service is that a drug is a drug is a drug is a drug is a drug. When you get to the reason why in recovery services, it was niggas in there that was smoking crack, alcoholics, pill heads, people was addicted to stealing cars, people was addicted to selling drugs, people was addicted to smoking drugs. We all had a root cause of our addiction. This is the real situation and the real conversation that we could begin to have. This is shadow work, because if you don't address these things, they come and bite you in the ass long term. Y'all all had your mama who had that boyfriend that was smoking crack. He was a good dude. 99% of the time. That 1% of the time where y'all trust them. All right, Rollo, we about to go to the grocery store. I'll see you later. Y'all was at the grocery store for 15 minutes. Came home, the whole house empty. Rollo went on a binge. You ain't seen Rollo or your goddamn clothes or nothing ever since. And I'm saying that all to say it's not the drugs and the behavior more than it is the root cause to why millions of people, why I can cultivate drugs and just know that a motherfucker is going to buy it. The reason that I know a person is going to buy crack or methamphetamines and heroin is because I know that these motherfuckers are lonely. A drug is a drug is a drug is a drug. The reason that you do it is because you are lonely. The feeling of loneliness is stronger in drug abusers rather than non-drug abusers. So the people who not doing drugs can't relate to the people that's doing drugs, right? If you a drug addict and your mama not a drug addict, she don't understand you at all. You going to your meetings, you dealing with your fucking counselor, and she just looking at you like you really fucking crazy. I don't know whose pussy you came out of. That must have been a psychoactive fucking hallucination, because there's no, I don't even, what is wrong with you? The drug abuser and the non-drug abuser don't mix, because your mom probably got sisters and friends and aunties and grandmas, and she got that support system. And the support system might be all women. You not a woman. You need man energy. You never got that, so you feel lonely. And the only thing that makes you feel whole is when you're doing drugs. Ain't nobody doing drugs socially at the bar because they feel good and having a good time. That's bullshit. That's cap. You doing drugs, alcohol, all of this shit to escape your reality. Because your reality is built upon loneliness. That could develop the sense of being different from community and increase the probability of taking high-risk behaviors and abusing drugs. Thus, it is suggested to consider the feeling of loneliness in all programs designed to prevent or treat addiction. I will go further. In all spiritual modalities, we must address the loneliness factor. And we're talking about not the loneliness that a person has imposed on you, the loneliness that you've imposed on yourself by not standing in your truth and your authenticity because you fear the response that you may get when you keep it a buck. So since you can't keep it a buck, you can't attract a buck type energy. Thus, all of your loneliness is resulting in more loneliness. Until you begin to address your fears and step out of your bubble and get out of that isolation energy. So, let's keep going. Where we at? Is y'all enjoying the show? Or is this... I'm not... Like, the thing of it is, I can't stand spiritual people at no level. To be associated with a spiritual person is pissing me off. So I just feel like I gotta do something different, y'all. And if that means that y'all don't like it, guess what? Kiss my ass. How about that? This is my channel. I get to say whatever the fuck I want to say on it. So, amid the explosive spread of the Omicron, much of the conversation around COVID-19 has been focused on the potential health consequences of getting together. But not enough has been focused on the health consequences of isolation. They say it's bad for you to be around your people, y'all. Not only it does not limit itself to drugs. Believe you, drugs is not limited to drugs. Video games, anime, movies, television, sports. A drug is a drug is a drug. I don't give a fuck about what happens in sports, because it don't matter. Niggas be watching football, but if the number one wide receiver sat next to you at the fucking restaurant, you wouldn't know that was him. You don't know what these football players looking like nowadays. We used to know goddamn Emmitt Smith, Michael Irvin, and Deion Sanders, Troy Aikman, Steve Young. We knew them niggas. These new football players and basketball players, you don't know these motherfuckers. These niggas be on the NBA starting 5 on the fucking All-Star team. You don't know who these goddamn niggas is. Cause that shit don't matter no more. Anyways, we focus on the potential health consequences of getting together. You can't be in, too many people in here, the COVID guidelines, right? But when you alone, it ain't no damn COVID guidelines. How do that make sense, family? How do that make sense? I'm telling you, the epidemic that they talking about don't have shit to do with a disease like that. The real epidemic is the epidemic of loneliness in the Internet of Things. Long as you got digital devices telling you when to wake up, what music to listen to, what videos to watch, what friends on Facebook to listen to. You got friends on Facebook that post every day. You ain't seen they post in 10 years. Just look at a random friend page. You be like, damn, you post a lot on Facebook. I don't never be seeing these posts. That's crazy. If you making content, you could forget about it. Ain't nobody about to watch your shit. You gotta work hard to get into a nigga's algorithms. You ain't just gonna you ain't just about to upload no video and start no goddamn YouTube channel or Instagram and just magically get followers and real engagement like that. It ain't gonna work. You gonna have to really step outside of yourself and present yourself in a way consistently that motherfuckers can get used to you and make it to whereas a motherfucker wanna support you. But when you are socially isolating yourself, keeping yourself from the public, and just simply desiring to be successful, but not addressing your fear, it's going to be hard to get there. Okay? So it's just not drugs, it's cigarettes, it's alcohol, it's food that got y'all asses in a tizzy. In China, or Japan rather, they call this actual phenomenon of being in the house all the fucking time hikikomori. Hikikomori. Also known as acute social withdrawal. It's total withdrawal from society and seeking extreme degrees of social isolation and confinement. See, what had happened with COVID-19 is they put everybody in jail. The only reason I know that they put everybody in jail is because I've been in jail before and I know what jail feel like. So when I was doing my daily energy readings, I was like, I hope y'all know how to bid. Meaning that I hope y'all know how to be in jail without being crazy. Because if you didn't know how to do that, you essentially went crazy. A lot of y'all is turned the fuck out by these goddamn dating apps. You could be a fucking mud duck and a decent ass nigga will give you the dick every single night. How you gonna turn that down? But at the same time, you ain't grooming yourself. You not learning how to be socially responsible, how to carry conversations. You literally on your phone, a nigga is typing yes on you or you typing yes to him and you got free time, he got free time. He know that you gonna look at him as a privilege. and the situation is known. But see, the way that niggas is built, we don't give a fuck. We will fuck the person below us. We would do that. Women not going to do that. So a woman might process this whole shit like, oh shit, I'm that bitch, I'm that girl. The situation didn't never really change. Nothing changed about it. You didn't shoot your shot. You didn't step your game up. Niggas ain't shit. Like a good looking nigga ain't shit too. That's where y'all get fucked up too. It'd be like, he's so fine, he gotta be worth something. No, he could be fine and a complete waste of energy. So, saying all of this to say, isolation and confinement is not building you up. Isolating yourself from people, being alone, is turning you into a drug addict. Because when you're in social environments, real social environments with people that really care for you, they're going to hold you to a standard. And that standard ain't bad. That standard is allowing you to become a better person and develop and to grow. This is very natural, very human. But this epidemic has completely blocking us from the fact of having healthy, harmonious relationships with others. We're on the internet and we're tricking ourselves into thinking that, oh, 100 people is watching my video right now. I have this many views, but the whole system is rigged. It's all based upon algorithms. If YouTube wanted to make me have 1 million fucking views, all it would have to do is place me in front of 10 million people. My click-through rate is rather high for my videos. So if I have a 6% click-through rate, all you have to do is add it at scale. Don't nobody got a fucking 100% click-through rate. You look at your click-through rate, you will see that it's in between 5 to 10% for most videos. So determining who get the most views ain't up to the person that's doing the content. It's completely up to the service for which you uploaded. That's why I don't fucking upload for views. I upload to content, market my business. That way, if 10 people watch it, and one person buys a book, I accomplish my goal. My fault. So what we're doing is talking about the different risks of hikikomori, or extreme social isolation. Because of the internet, we're able to get into more socially isolated situations. Because of the internet, we're able to imagine that we're talking to people and building with people, but we have a safe way out, i.e. the internet. Developing real relationships, developing real bonds with people, you have to figure out a way of not escaping or a way of not running away. And this is the difficult part about relationships. The easy part is the internet, which is going to have us in these type situations where, you know, a person is just showing us every good quality that they have. An enormous amount of good qualities, and they're never showing us the negative energy. Hikikomori is a state of social withdrawal in one's home with a continuous duration of at least 6 months, resulting in significant functional impairment or distress. COVID-19 restrictions could constitute the first phase of hikikomori for those susceptible to the condition. So, if we're in our homes, working from home, talking to our friends and family in our home, we are being psychologically conditioned to be used to being in jail. And when you're in jail, believe it or not, it's a lot of people using drugs. Because mentally, we're attempting to escape this situation that we find ourselves in. So, whether the benefits of using social media during COVID-19 lockdown to reduce hikikomori risk extend to a post-COVID society is a question for future resource. So, like I said, when you're doing studies for now, we ain't going to know the effects of it till later. And these energies that exist in Japan, when you talk about these children nowadays, they do not leave the house. And everything happens in their favor so they can start to go to school from the house. COVID breakouts in the school. So they be happy. They don't got to go to school for nothing. There's always options for at-home learning. So now the children can stay in the house and not communicate, have no real communications with nobody, and we're normalizing it. And the tests that are going to be found out about the TikToks and the Reels and the YouTube Shorts and the way that these things have molded the minds of the youth to not be able to process nothing for longer than a fucking goldfish. They say a goldfish have the memory of 5 to 10 seconds. That's the same concept that they're going to be working with the TikToks. So it's a lot of things happening with this pandemic, epidemic, whatever you want to call it. And it's not about the disease. It's more about the psychological effects of taking people out of society, putting them in the home, and then watch them go batshit crazy. So let's take this one step further. Social anxiety disorder, formerly referred to as social phobia, is an anxiety disorder characterized by overwhelming anxiety and excessive self-consciousness in everyday social situations. People with social anxiety disorder have a persistent and intense chronic fear. I have that word highlighted because that's going to be the thing that brings us into our next segment. As I stated, I'm going to start off in the mundane and slowly work our way into the spiritual, medicinal purpose of drug use. But drug being medicines, as opposed to just looking at this from a perspective of drugs to have fun. And not take my personal words for it, but utilize my research that I've done so you could just see that this is independent information in reference to true spiritual development, true spiritual growth. You shouldn't be doing the same thing spiritually that you were doing 10 years ago. You shouldn't be listening to the lecturers from 20 years ago saying the same shit that they were saying 20 years ago, because the reality is that the whole world has completely changed. We have learned new information. We have integrated new technologies, and it's not to say that we disrespect our elders, but at the same time, our elders are putting us in this position. Because eldership isn't supposed to be us learning everything on our own. The blind can't do nothing but lead the blind, family, and this is what we need to begin to learn. Nobody is more spiritual than you, but since you don't exercise your fear, you put your fucking admiration shadow on the next man. You shouldn't be looking at people like, oh, he's so great. No, you're great. Because you ain't even saying that from a full cup. You saying that from an empty cup, and because you got an empty cup, you got to admire motherfuckers. As opposed to stop looking at motherfuckers and just start focusing on filling your cup. Because when it comes for you to put yourself in this position of being your best self, you're going to have to exercise your fear. But your fear is centered in your social anxiety of being watched and judged by others, and of being embarrassed or humiliated by their own actions. I don't want to do a YouTube video because I'm afraid of what people is going to say. That is chronic fear, and don't nobody give a fuck about your YouTube video. Please believe it. Nobody is going to laugh at you. Nobody is going to hold it against you. When I did my first videos and I would listen to them, I say, ain't a damn soul going to be listening to these videos. I sound like a fucking retard. Why would anybody listen to this? I have to get better with my communication. I can't say every fucking 15 minutes. That ain't going to work if I'm trying to be good at this fucking YouTube shit. Let me figure out how to speak. Lisa Nichols, what you say, sis? Say it with my chest. Twerk a little bit. I ain't going to do that, but I'm going to hear you out. YouTube, how to speak a little better. How to improve your public speaking. That's what I'm talking about. Fuck what a motherfucker say about your fucking videos, because how the fuck a person going to judge you? You know how I've worked on this goddamn video for 2 weeks. I don't care how y'all feel about this damn shit. I already done put the work in, so it don't matter how you feel. You can hate the content. Y'all could be wishing, like, why you ain't talking about astrology? Everybody else talking about astrology. It's all types of fucking YouTube videos of motherfuckers lying to y'all about astrology. Y'all don't care. If y'all don't give a fuck, I don't give a fuck. What I'm presenting to y'all is me stepping out of my fear. I feel like, well, people ain't gonna listen to me if I'm talking about astrology. Whole time is my fear of me saying whatever the fuck that I want to say. Their fear may be so severe that it interferes with work, school, or other activities. While many people with social anxiety disorder recognize that their fear of being around people may be excessive and unreasonable, they are unable to overcome it. Chronic fear is a motherfucker. They often worry for days, weeks in advance of a dreaded situation. In addition, they often experience low self-esteem and depression. This is the part that, if you've been watching my pre-games to this actual presentation, I was talking about clearing your family trauma and breaking generational curses. This is shadow work. This is shadow work. If you do not clear your fucking damn generational fucking curse, then it won't be cured. Because the same way you treating your kids is the same way your mama treated you. The same lessons you taking them to the same churches, y'all giving them the same food, y'all is not breaking no type of chains. You start to do shadow work, you start eating different, you start talking different, you start living different, you start breaking those generational curses. You don't do shadow work, you start to believe that everything your mom and your daddy do is right. You start, I ain't gonna never hear nobody start talking about their mom and their daddy, about how great their mom and their daddy is. That don't make no sense. That's your mom and your daddy. Them niggas changed your diaper, fed you. They treated you better than any motherfucker that's ever gonna treat you in your life. You putting them on the pedestal is too easy for me. Put somebody on the pedestal that's worth being put on there. Show me how you came out the woodwork to support a motherfucker out the blue or some shit like that. Don't be telling me how your mom and your daddy is great. That shit don't matter. That shit ain't shit. Okay? Social anxiety disorder often runs in family and may be accompanied by depression or other anxiety disorders such as panic disorder, obsessive compulsive disorder. Some people with social anxiety disorder self-medicate, listen to this, with alcohol or other drugs, which can lead to addiction. So when you talk about drug usage, you're not always talking about the drugs that a person used and why did they use them drugs. More than not, you're talking to a lonely ass motherfucker. So the times that you just shoo off a person in a fucking drug addiction, right? Because they stupid for being on them drugs, that be your goddamn mama, your daddy, your brother, your sister, your family member that you don't give a fuck about. They sitting out this bitch lonely, right? But then you want to act as though, you know, I'm a good person, I'm down to help people. The whole time, this person is suffering from the ability to relate and deal with other people. And you could be the person for which I'm referencing. I'm just laying out a general hypothetical situation. The reason that I'm done being spiritual with y'all is because y'all motherfuckers swear I be talking about y'all. Now I'm talking about fucking fentanyl. Now let me see how many DMs I get of how motherfuckers I've been talking about. I just feel like your whole life you was talking directly to me. No, the fuck I wasn't. I'm speaking to a whole fucking audience. I'm not pinpointing nobody. If you think I'm talking about you, you crazy. Because the only person that I be talking about on this channel is goddamn me. It's my life. I'm the crazy one here, not you. You good, okay? This has been the edition of the Conscious News Network. Stay tuned. We got an episode of spiritual shit coming up right after this commercial break. So go ahead and roll you a blunt, pour you a drink or something, and we getting ready to deal with some spiritual shit. Psilocybin and shadow work. My mind be too many different places. Let's get into this commercial break and let's dive into this spiritual shit. Let's get ready to get into some real consciousness. I just be doing this content. I've always been motivated by the spiritual community. The whole thing of me doing videos has been listening to spiritual motherfuckers. I can't stand the motherfuckers. They sound so crazy to me. I'll be really listening to. I'll be like, all right, what the fuck is this person talking about? And I sit and I try to grasp what the fuck they talking about, and they'll start rambling. They'll just start saying some old cliche ass shit and just go back to their notes. And it's just like, what the fuck happened? Like, make a fucking point. I never can get a fucking point out of spiritual people. And I was like, man, I gotta start doing videos. If I don't do videos, I feel like, damn, motherfuckers just gotta listen to these motherfuckers. Don't make no sense whatsoever. Niggas just out here for clout. You feel me? But y'all know the rules of spiritual shit. We here to have a good time. We here to laugh because laughter is the highest emotion, for it can contain any of the others from ecstasy to grief. It has no opposite. Crying is merely an undeveloped form of it, which cleanses the eyes and summons assistance to infants. Crying is for babies. The only reason you should be crying is if you're a little ass kid, a little ass baby. A lot of y'all be fucking crying over a fucking nigga that you chose. You chose the nigga. I don't care. You chose him. You didn't ask me what I thought about the situation. You said this was the one. He was going to be your forever. And I knew that nigga from the goddamn joint. I knew he wasn't shit. And you said that he was the one. I knew he wasn't the one. I knew he was going to be number 31, but you ain't take it that far. And now you want to be crying over a nigga that I told you wasn't shit. But I didn't tell you wasn't shit because you ain't asked me if he was shit from the beginning. I would have told you the moment you called. Or when he said hello, hey, when he slid in the DMs, I would have said, no, sis, don't do that. He is an ain't shit nigga supreme. I don't care about your ancestors. I don't care about your hormones. I don't care how much you attracted to him. Don't do it. And now you want to cry about it. I don't give a fuck. Cry me a river. Laughter is the only tenable attitude in the universe, which is a joke played upon itself. Okay. I'm reloaded. Spiritual shit. Chronic fear. And we ain't talking about and we ain't talking about the goddamn chronic from Dr. Dre and Snoop Dogg either. We talking about a repetitive form of fear that plays out in our minds over and over and over and over again. I can't do no YouTube video because people gonna laugh at me. I can't do no music because people ain't gonna like my songs. I can't start a business because I ain't gonna be successful. I can't be the best. I can't be in a relationship because niggas ain't shit. No, that's chronic fear. Over and over and over again, you give yourself reasons as to why not, and you don't live in the space of shooting your shot. If you make a shot, you're going to have to shoot it. In the space in between you shooting it and making it, you never know if that bitch is going to go in. Steph Curry don't say, well, I don't know if I'm going to make it, so I ain't going to shoot it. The last time I shot it, I missed it, so I don't want that to ever happen again, so I ain't going to shoot no more shots. I'm talking to the ladies right now and how y'all just don't be shooting shots at the niggas. I ain't sugarcoating it. If you just shoot your shot, a nigga is gonna go for it. And if a nigga if the heavens part open and the Red Sea part open and a nigga decide, you know what, no, then consider it you being rejected and just and laugh about it. And say, you know what? I'ma holler at your friend tomorrow, right? I'ma holler at your friend tomorrow. That's how you do it. Don't stop shooting your shot. Keep shooting the damn ball. You feel me? So let me find my next slide in reference to breaking down this situation in reference to chronic fear. And we not talking about Snoop Dogg and Dr. Dre. Weed fear. No, we talking about chronic fear. It's a sustained fake ass energy that don't exist. Just bullshit. You ever seen a badass girl? Like, I mean, she fine and she just like playing herself down. And you be like, girl, you look so fucking good. I don't even know why you even giving this energy off. Well, it's other girls that look better than me. Yeah, that's true. But you still a fucking piece out here in these streets. If you a piece, be a piece. Don't be comparing your shit to other motherfucker shit. You got your shit. You good with your shit. I mean, it ain't the best shit in the world, but it's some decent ass shit. Don't knock your shit because another bitch is out here fucking stepping on necks, because she gonna be stepping on necks and you probably gonna be stepping on baby toes. Step on them damn baby toes, you feel me? Don't compare, because your comparison is centered in fear. Now you fucking doing drugs and shit because you afraid of life. You all sick. Motherfuckers talk about, yeah, man, everybody got COVID. No, the fuck they didn't. You got COVID. Don't put that on everybody. Okay? You got it, not everybody. I'm not catching that shit. I'm gonna keep my immune system boosted. Fuck all of that. I'm gonna vitamin D my shit together. You feel me? Chlorophyll and things of that nature. Hydration and shit. Fuck all of that. Mugwort at night. Clean that digestive tract out. Cause that digestive tract be having goddamn red meat. That red meat turn into goddamn all types of weird shit in your body because it don't digest. It just rots in your goddamn intestines and turns into all types of weird shit. I digress. Fear is a feeling that is internal and is conscience. Went to public school, so conscience, I had to look that word up. Conscience is an inner guidance system that dictates good, bad, right, or wrong. If you don't internalize the fact that you don't know good or bad or right or wrong, you would then imagine that you do. What am I talking about? You think that you can pick out a man for yourself. You think that you can pick out a woman. Motherfuckers abusive. Do you wrong. Do you dirty. Motherfucker stink. You can't pick nobody. Right? You don't know how to pick a damn thing. But in your mind, you like, this is right and this is wrong. You don't fucking know. Motherfuckers say, well, I don't need to invest because I feel like I'm going to be rich. Your conscience is telling you you're going to be rich, but your conscience is fucking lying to you. Your conscience is saying you're going to be rich. Now you looking for a goddamn spiritual person to tell you you're going to be rich one day. And you going to say, I always told myself I'm going to be rich. You lying to yourself. The goddamn spiritual person lying to you. Everybody lying. And you feel great about it. Let me tell you about the truth. It hurts, my nigga. The truth hurts. Whenever you in a situation and it's spiritual and it's good feelings and it's high fives, you in the midst of a liar. Because the truth hurts. The truth requires you to shoot a shot and miss. The truth requires you to reject. The truth is painful, but you look at it from a perspective like this shit funny as hell. All I gotta do is rid myself of fear and I could do whatever the fuck I want to do. The fear is blocking me from me being my best self. And all of the shit that I conspired against my fucking self is goddamn blowing me away. It should have you fucking rolling on the floor laughing after you done fucking cried at all of the situations you done fucking ruined. Cause you's a bitch ass nigga. Right? And you can be a bitch ass nigga and be a woman, believe it or not. Bitch ass nigga is just anybody that don't live up to their potential and shriek into serious situation. When shit gets serious, they fucking break down because in their mind, they just waiting for the perfect occurrence to happen. That's a fear-based person. Consciously, internally, you thinking, I think correct thoughts. To be really smart, to be truly wise, is to say, there's no way that I can know a fucking thing. So let me be as humble as possible, as learned as possible. Humble, for real, because goddamn pianos can fly down out of nowhere and just fucking crush your ass. And there's nothing you can do to prevent it. You can't just be like, oh, let me stop this damn piano. The piano is coming for your fucking head. There's nothing that you can do. You need to be grateful if a piano is not flying down on your fucking head. You don't even know if a piano is going to fly over your head. You can never be that smart. You can never have enough money to predict the facts of a piano flying down out the fucking sky, aimed directly for your ass. So we live in a whole complete world of random occurrences that we could either be sad and depressed about or just be like, man, this shit funny as hell. Because the reality is, however you perceive the external, you're going to feel that at a hormonal level. Let's talk about what happens when we're dealing with fake fear, aka chronic fear. The fear that you think all the time, if I do a YouTube video, ain't nobody gonna like it, so I ain't gonna do it. If I holler at this person, they might tell me no, and I don't want to experience this person telling me no, so I'm gonna just wait until it's for sure going to happen. I'm not going to take no risk because risk implies that I move my fear to the side, and actually my fear runs my fucking life. And I hate it. That's the irony. It arises when sensory systems in the brain have determined an external stimulus poses a threat. Outputs of threat detection circuits trigger a general increase in brain arousal and can result in the altered threat processing and fear and anxiety disorders. What I'm explaining is a fucking saber-tooth tiger showing up to your door and having a specific appetite for your ass only. Like it wants to take a huge bite out of your ass. This is true fear. If there is no saber-toothed tiger with a penchant for biting a hole in your ass because saber-toothed tigers are extinct, so you don't gotta ever worry about a saber-toothed tiger, you don't ever have to worry about the release of cortisol, adrenaline, and noradrenaline. See, when you say, oh, if this bad thing is happening, or you immerse yourself in quote unquote fearful situations, you actually have to deal with those butterflies and the sweaty palms and the heightened blood pressure and things of that nature. It's a normal reaction. However, if you live like this and you ain't doing nothing, you just thinking about shit, and it's chronic, meaning that you constantly in fear of becoming your best self, because now you could invert yourself into a space where you know for a fact that you're not going to stand in your best self, and that pisses you off. You know that you're not going to show up at work tomorrow in your best energy. You know that you're not going to strive for that promotion. You know you're not going to holler at that girl. You know you're not going to start your business. You know these things. You know you're just going to smoke your weed, drink your liquor, have your fun, and you know that you ain't going to never amount to shit. And because you know that, you live in the space of chronic fear, because you either going to do it or you're not going to do it. Because what it takes is a lot of effort and energy to accomplish anything worth accomplishing. And the risk involved of setting a goal is saying that you might not even accomplish it. You might even holler at this girl and she tell your ass, get your ugly ass out of my face. And you know that in the back of your mind, and you still can't let that stop you. Based upon your spirit telling you to do something. Why is it when your spirit tell you to do something, you don't fucking run and jump and do it? Because you afraid of what the positive outcome or negative outcome may happen. And if you used to it, where your spirit is always telling you to do shit and you already know you're not going to listen, this is chronic fear. You are perpetually fearful. And so this fear is a constant production of stress hormones. The stress is you need to do this and you're not doing it. So because you know you need to do it and you know that you're not going to do it, you putting yourself in between a rock and a hard place. Literally, because cortisol, adrenaline, noradrenaline, it masticizes, it hardens over time. That's the type of things that happen with cortisol, adrenaline, and noradrenaline. It hardens if released. And if you are a person with dreams and you start to talk to a person who have done nothing but fear for years upon years upon years, they don't even present themselves with an opportunity out. It's almost to say that they don't even think that it is possible for them to be successful. The only thing that is possible for them to do is to get high. Because the drugs is going to reduce the hormones. The drugs is going to say, you're okay right now. You're not alone. You're not bored. You're not lonely. You're not sick. You're not unhappy. You're fine because you have these drugs. But when the high goes down, the cortisol and adrenaline and the noradrenaline rises back up. Why? Because, oh my shit, how am I going to get high again? And you start imagining the facts of what's going to happen if you're not getting high, if you're not smoking weed. And so you start to stress out. I don't got no money. What am I going to do? I need to figure out a way to get some money so I can get high. Because if I get high, at least I don't have to deal with myself. And the reality is you could begin to develop a level of self-love, self-understanding through meditation, through shadow work, to whereas you're not producing these cortisols, adrenaline all the time. And you got to give yourself am I saying that you have to give yourself a moment? Give me a moment as I set this up. You got to give yourself a moment, because when you produce cortisol, adrenaline, noradrenaline on the regular, these are hormones that go to your brain and they stop you from actually thinking straight. Back to the saber-toothed tiger. You could have been thinking about creating a pot or something. You doing your pottery sculpture, and then you see a saber-toothed tiger. Everything that you was thinking to keep that pottery or the intricate designs and things of that nature is going out the window. When you're immersed or flooded with cortisol and stress hormones, you don't think straight. So, of course you're saying, I can't be successful and I won't never be the person that I'm supposed to be, because your hormonal output is not of that of a normal. It is that of being in a fucking stressful ass situation. And the reality is, yes, you may be stressed, but your stress wasn't actually used for this particular life and world that we're living in. It's being stimulated. And so your dreams and hopes and wishes might lead to isolation. This is why the rich person needs to do shadow work more than the poor person, because the poor person don't feel like they can buy themselves into healing, but the rich person absolutely feels like they can buy themselves into some shadow work. The reality is, you got to sit with yourself and remove your fear and step out of your isolation, because your money is not going to allow you to do that. Your money is going to have you isolate further, because you know I want a goddamn $20. You know I want $20. What the fuck? You out here balling? You can't even shoot me a 20? You know that's what niggas hit you with soon as they find out you got money. Oh, you rich. Let me hold 20. I'm going to pay you back. They is not going to pay you back. So you go isolate yourself further. That's what money do. Shadow work brings you into the situation, because now you can be authentic in whatever situation you find yourself in. Very key. So the first level of chronic stress is alarm. You normalize a fear-based response to situations that make you feel uncomfortable, and then you re-normalize yourself outside of that threat. And so these are the times and points where you go into the park, where you exercise in, where you meditate in, and you find that little piece of zen. But you're not doing it for the sake of, you're doing it probably to help you get some shit that'll further your isolation. And once you get the shit that furthers your isolation, you back to alarm. And then you normalize yourself out, find that level of resistance. But each time you dig deeper and deeper and deeper, because you're not supposed to be producing those stress hormones up until a goddamn robber with an AK-47 comes in. Because by the time the robber do come in, you've already depleted your vital energy that was going to be used to respond to an acute threat. So acute fear is real life fear. Chronic fear is made up fear that will stop you from being your best self. And since you're not going to do the thing to become your best self, and you know it, you're going to be depressed. You're going to be sad, because spirit does not let you sit on your laurels. And at first, they give you the mental health. Then they give you the emotional health. Then they give you the spiritual health. Then they start giving you the physical health. And all of these dysfunctions is in relation to you actually doing shadow work. It might seem far-fetched, but what we're talking about is a hormonal release that's centered at the HPA axis. All my Chakra Nova students should know exactly what I'm saying when I say HPA axis. We're talking about fight or flight. And sometimes when we're in serious situations, we do not know how to respond correctly. And because we normalize not knowing how to respond by deepening our isolation and not actually doing the shadow work or the inner work, that this becomes the actual goal for all of humanity. Rich, poor, black, white, you start to deal with the shit that are holding you back. Because there's not nobody on the planet that can say that they have done shadow work effectively, because shadow work is a living and breathing entity and it don't let you defeat it. See, some people think that they can separate themselves from negative energy, but when you look at the earth from a telescope, you don't see you and your fat ass. You don't see you and your beautiful smile. You see the whole earth, meaning that you see a fucking hyena fucking eating a baby gazelle. There's nothing that you can do about it. It's good shit that happened. It's bad shit. You either taking a risk or you not existing. You either growing or you not growing. When you separate the good from the bad and you focus strictly on the good, you're also saying that I refuse to grow. I refuse to mature. And also, when you say you're in a good situation, all of the bad things in reference to the mind that's going to ruin the good situation is what rules your mind. And then you always hear about a person, I done burnt out. It's above me now. This is your energy being used outside of your spiritual life, but being used to keep up fronts, to keep up appearances, to keep the whole situation going. And the reality is that you have vital hormonal energy that you cannot fake out or trick. You can't tell your hormones, hey guys, I got a lot of money today, we should be good. Hey guys, I got a lot of food today, we should be good. Hey guys, I bought a lot of spiritual products, crystals, we should be good. The only way you can treat your hormones is if you start to fully understand who you are, and who you are and fear don't exist. You are love. Love and fear can't exist in the same space. So to be 100% love is to be 0% fear. And that's a hard place for human beings to be in. But we don't spend our time in the love dimension. We spend 100% in the fear dimension, and this what creates the burnout. This is why you so tired. This is why you so exhausted. This is why you want to do drugs all the time, because you don't understand your energy. And if you never understand your energy, the thing that happens is what things that happen. Immune system dysfunction, endocrine system dysfunction, nervous system alterations, sleep and wake cycle disruption, eating disorders, all of these things that conscious people normalize. Oh girl, I can't sleep last night. I had to do some shadow work. It's the witching hour and shit. All of this weird shit, and you might be a spiritual miracle, but 10 times out of 10, it is having a complete and hormonal disruption, and be around a whole other bunch of people who having these hormonal disruptions, and y'all all blind, and y'all all being led by the blind. The only way that you're able to see your way out of this situation is by doing inner work. And if you don't know what inner work is, it is conquering and facing your fears, identifying your emotions. What the fuck do you mean you sad? Why are you sad? How do you get rid of that sadness? What is your sadness telling you? Don't just tell me that you sad and this is your reason for giving up. We got to have real responsibilities in reference to our spiritual life and spiritual growth. But this is where we get into the space of spiritual maturity, right? Spiritual growth. So that's what we're talking about next. But before, let's just hit up one more aspect of our ability to simply exercise our chronic fear. So the brain's capacity to retrieve previous learning is dependent on specific chemical states. The brain's capacity to retrieve previous learning is dependent on specific chemical states. Chemical alterations can distort perception of sensory information, thus distorting storage. So if you feel as if, and this gets deep in reference to just being a slave, right? You can't be a smart slave, right? You're talking about a business owner, a person that's able to buy businesses and employ people. You can't be all of that and be a slave. You can be smart and be a slave, but to the highest level degree of humanity, you'll never be that if you truly believe that you are a descendant from a slave. And that's a chemical state. But because the reality of what you are as a God is also a chemical state. Being told that you are a descendant of the Most High and your energy has existed for millions of years, you are just a representation of something that has existed for millions of years, just a reincarnated form of it. And you start, the previous lecture that I did when I did the one with the universe, which was a mystery school exclusive, where I just simply said that human beings are aspects of the universe. It's a scientifically proven fact. The particles within your body, everything that constitutes your body, have existed for millions of years, if not billions of years. And this is scientific fact. And I say that all to say, if you understand who you are, then that changes your capacity of learning and how you learn and how you deal and build with yourself. If you know without a shadow of a doubt from an energetic layer that you can never die because you are a form of consciousness, then that will remove certain levels of your fear. Fear can exist in reference to the melanated person because the melanated person is energy, and what they tell you about thermodynamics is that you can't destroy energy. It can only get transferred into another form or to another body. But when we are exercising in what we call hyperarousal of fear, the storage may be incomplete and new information will be stored in nonverbal memory. This distorts the storage of sensory input, and the retrieval of the information will be affected. And these are a lot of complicated scientific words, but if y'all will allow me to just paraphrase, who you think you are determines who you become. Who you think you are determines who you become. But if you factor in fear, that is the dye that's going to discolor the whole entire pool. Because you are energy. You are hydrogen. Non-physical and physical at the same time. This is holistic. And the reality is, if you don't get completely around the fact that you are the universe, then you have your humanity and your ego, and its whole setup is built upon fear. So every piece of clothes that you wear, every decision you make, if it's centered in the ego, it's centered in fear, because the ego knows it is not the soul. The ego knows that it's going to transition and not exist any longer. So it tries to invade and persuade and integrate itself into the mind of the soul. So some of y'all are complete free spiritual souls, but yet and still y'all think that y'all fucking ego. Y'all think that y'all fucking body, and that is a result of chronic fear. Because you've been told this. So I'm saying all of this to say who you are determines exactly who you become. No longer can you say, I'm a god, but I listen to a fucking liar on YouTube talk to me about bullshit for hours and I imagine it to be spiritual. You can't say that. You gotta say that I've been tuning in to the God within and listening to that motherfucker to the point that I start following everything that it say without fear. Cause fear will have you listening to a fucking skim flim flammer the whole entire time, and then you don't understand shit for which they saying. But they say they spiritual, you believe they spiritual, everything is spiritual. But they can't communicate a message to save their fucking life. Blind leading to blind energy. But let's deal with this. Spiritual growth, spiritual maturity. Sometimes people just imagine themselves to be all grown up. But when it comes to spiritual, it's hocus pocus, wallakazam. There is no development. There is no growth. And the more that you deal with a person, the more that you grow with a person, the more that you understand that, oh, this person might still be a child. Because the concept of spiritual maturity is not brought to us. See, when you hear a spiritual person talking, they talk to you in a way or a fashion that you are right and everybody else are wrong around you is right, is wrong. And if I talk to you like that, I'm trying to, get your panties wet. I'm not actually keeping it real, because the reality of spiritual life and spiritual work is that you have to be spiritually accountable on who you are as a fucking man or a woman. And it's all about the real shit that you can offer. You ask a motherfucker, all right, what can you offer? Well, I'm good at this, I'm good at that, and it don't never be about shit. Because the reality is like, oh, we can work together, we can build, but how you gonna work and build with a motherfucker if this motherfucker feel like, all right, I'm gonna be magical, wallakazam, wallakazoo, and the next motherfucker is thinking, well, these are the forms and these are the books that we need to study, these are the note-taking times, we gonna have to have a study session for 4 hours a day, every single day for 4 hours, we gonna have to record our messages, we gonna have to have some order, and you got to be here every single day. A spiritually immature person is like, that's too much. I can't do that. A spiritually mature person says, I see the vision, I see the outcome, and whatever it takes to get to that outcome, I'm down to get there. That's how you manifest some shit. You trying to manifest by yourself is going to be hard. You can manifest with another motherfucker. The only thing is, are we both going to be so focused and driven and dedicated and we both want the same things? But when you a little child on the inside, you never know what you getting out of this motherfucker, because it's all about how they feel. It's all about their mood. How the fuck we building a pyramid and goddamn Imhotep saying, well, I ain't feeling it today, y'all. We talking about Imhotep, and Imhotep lived thousands of years ago. Meaning that he had to get up out of that feeling of, I don't feel like it. He had to get out of that. So when it comes to the real shit that you trying to manifest, and then you trying to kick it to a motherfucker on your emotional level, what you liked, what you didn't like, what you felt, what you was in agreement with, If 2 plus 2 equals 4, I don't give a fuck how you feel about it. I don't give a fuck how you agree with it. When it comes to 2 plus 2 equals 4, that's mathematics. Mathematics is calculations in reference to if you agree. It is not whether you agree. Is 2 plus 2 equals 4, yes or no? Yes. Okay. Then if we get 4 blocks, we have 4 cinder blocks. How many blocks do you see? I see 4. How many do you see? I see 4. Well, do we agree that we see 4 blocks? Yes. There is no feeling in the amount of if it's blocks or not. You either know that you're dealing with a crazy person or you not. Because if I see 4 blocks and this nigga tell me he see 28 blocks, you are a crazy motherfucker. I can't fuck with you. This is maturity. This is spiritual growth. But when you talk to spiritual people, it's all about, if we keep our fingers crossed and we lock our legs to the right, and then if we take a bath bomb and if we shove the bath bomb up our ass and we jump into the tub, the bath bomb is going to explode in our asses, and then we're going to be able to talk to God. And it just don't work like that. We're talking about spiritual maturity. I mean, a lot of people don't really talk about it because it's a concept that really requires you to really man up in the spiritual life. With spiritual maturity, our ability to forgive and free ourselves grows and deepens. This shows the natural resolution of our conflicts and the ability to return to joy and peace. So all of the spiritual shit that you're trying to do, all of the readings that you're trying to accomplish, if you're not trying to grow and become wise within your spirituality, which is you giving up the need to know. Yo, immaturity is the facts of you feeling like you need to know, or the facts of you feeling like you need to accomplish something. Like, I cannot give you a certificate for shadow work because you'll be doing shadow work forever. Not even once you die. After you die, you'll be doing shadow work because the shadow is a part of you. It's like doing leg work and trying to get rid of your legs. You don't do leg work to get rid of your legs. You do leg work to strengthen your fucking legs because you need your legs to walk. You need your shadow to deal with these spiritual motherfuckers because these spiritual niggas is vampires. And the reason that I don't fuck with them because these people will be jealous and try to put spiritual roots on you. You gotta hit them. Oh, you want to dig into my energy? Now you get in the shadow shit. And now shit is happening for you. And when I hear about the shit that's happening for you, I don't feel sorry for you because you probably ate some poison with your hating ass, right? So you don't gotta get back at nobody. I trust my intuition. I hear shit and I'll be like, oh, okay. And I'm not even gonna make a decision. I'm gonna peep it out. And all the time it'd be like, yeah, that was right. And it is all about being clear to the point that you truly listen to yourself and make decisions that allow you to be free. Because obligations and making deals with the devil, now you feel compelled to do shit that you don't want to do in the name of spirituality. Give me a 1 on the chat if you was talking to a spiritual person and it just didn't feel right, so you just didn't do it. But at the same time, that person on the other side feel like you another one to get. See, when you think that everything is love and light in the realms of spirituality, then you start overriding your natural fucking common sense. This is how these goddamn Nigerians don't never even be the person that they are, but they be making money. Because we are so fucking ignorant in reference to spirituality that we would think that a person is DMing us, thinking about us, because we stupid as hell. Like, this is the ego, right? This is the ego going crazy. See, I knew we had a connection. I was watching your video the other day, and I knew you was going to DM me and do me a reading too. How much is it? $250? That's it. I'm gonna give you $350. And the whole time you ain't even talking to that motherfucker that you was thinking that you was talking to. You talking to a goddamn scam artist in goddamn Nigeria with some goddamn flip-flops on a fucking internet cafe eating some fucking fufu, scamming your dumb ass because you think that these spiritual people is spiritual and they connected to you in some sense. You just attracted more scam energy to you. Because the spiritual maturity of all individuals is you listening to your damn self. I will say that to you, and that goes against my bottom line as a spiritual person. You feel me? But at the end of the day, when it comes down to the come down, you cannot listen to me over your soul. You cannot do the work of listening to my videos or listening to my podcast more than you do the work of listening to your soul. And to listen to your soul, you have to quiet your mind. And to quiet your mind, you have to absolve the fear that exists that comes from quieting your mind. Because quieting your mind, the next thing comes is, oh, did I lock the door? Where did that thought come from? Fear. Oh, did I leave the stove on? Where did that thought come on? Fear. Is anybody home? Where did that thought come from? Fear. So do you see how fear is disrupting your meditation? You would sit here right now and say, I don't like meditating. But never say, I need to get rid of my fear. When we reach spiritual maturity, we see spirituality as a question of who we are. What I said earlier, when you fixate on who you are, then that determines what you do. You don't fully identify as the goddess. So why would you begin to act that way? You don't fully identify as the God, so how you going to expect to act that way? You need to figure out who you are first. This is the key to doing shadow work, is to really do what we call automatic writing, where you're writing to a point and then you read it back and you're like, well, who was writing this? Where did this come from? And everybody has this ability. Everybody has this muscle the same way as everybody has a bicep. If you don't work out your arms, then you won't notice your bicep muscle. Don't mean that you don't have it. You have the ability to write automatically from the soul. Now, I put it in the Shadow Work Journal, but I don't give a fuck if y'all read it or understood it. Y'all fucking bought the book to be cool with me, acting like it's going to bring me closer to you. I don't give a fuck if you buy it and don't work through it. The reality, though, if you sat back and started to read the words that's actually in the book and stop thinking about me, you would then start to see, oh shit, prompt 5 is getting me into goddamn automatic writing. Every prompt led me to doing automatic writing. Oh shit, prompt 7 is me developing intimacy with myself. Because how am I going to expect to be intimate with somebody else and I haven't established true intimacy with myself? Right? So shadow work is really bringing out that authentic version of yourself, because you're able to sit at a hormonal level from joy and peace. But you can fake everybody out with the job. You can fake everybody out with the beauty. You can't fake your own self out with your lack of inner peace. This is where you start to examine your fear, because you start to realize that I can't exist with this shit. I can fool everybody in the world, but I can't fool myself. A spirituality of this kind is full of joy and integrity. It is both ordinary and awakened. Such spiritual maturity allows the light of the divine to shine through us, right? This is what we're talking about. Being authentic real and true. Authentic is not good, great, or excellent. How are you doing today? I'm doing fine. That's not authentic. Authentic is being real and true. You do not get to being real and true without shadow work. You don't get to shadow work without even identifying the fact that you need shadow work. To get to the real and true side of you takes a lot of work, man. Because you are not who you think you are. You are pure energy. However, if you think that you are the human vessel, then you don't even know who you are. A lot of people spiritual, but don't even realize that they're pure energy. They're pure consciousness. Which you have to begin to examine that to begin to understand your authentic energy. The famous American psychotherapist James Bugental calls authenticity the most important existential value of a human being. James Bugental, a man who ain't never told no lies as far as I know, calls authenticity the most important existential value of the human being. Not how much money you have, not how fat your ass is, not how many cars you have, not how many places you've been to, not how many cryptocurrency coins you have invested in. Authenticity is the most important existential value of a human being. You can't be authentic and still live in your fear, because your authenticity is your pure love existence. It is you integrating your higher self into your ego. So when you talk about consciousness, awareness, being present, it's all found in you being authentic, more than it is about you reading a book and talking about it and regurgitating the language, but not ever living in the space of being present, because to be present means that you have to exercise your fear. And if you never thought about it, don't imagine that you've done it. So you can also begin to say, wow, I've never been present. I've either been fixated on the past or fixated in the future and never honored and been grateful for this present moment. Thus, I've never even been authentic. So in all of my relationships, in all of my circumstances, I've been a fake ass bitch. And it's cool because I'm taking responsibility and accountability for my actions. And now I'm really integrating a true higher self spiritual life and energy within my life, and I'm doing the right things. The independent choice of the way of life at that moment. See, when you in fear, you start to do things that your mama wish you would do. You start to do things that your grandmother wish you would do. You start to do things that your boyfriend wish you could do. You start to do things that your wife wish you would do. And you never start to do the things that your soul tell you to do. You know why it's shadow? You know why it's dark? Because it's repressed. And it ain't nobody's fault why it's repressed. It's your fault. And you blame everybody. You blame your wife for you being a bitch ass nigga for not standing up for yourself. You blame your husband for telling you what to do when you didn't never say, well, I don't want to do that. Don't tell me that you want to be polygamous after I say I want to be polygamous. You should have told me that you was polygamous on the first date. Right? So what I'm saying is authenticity. If you want to fuck multiple dudes, don't boost my head up on the first date talking about how sexy I am, how much you only gonna love me, and then some shit happened and now you like, well, I wanted to be polygamous anyway. I want to no. We talking about being authentic is the most important existential value of a human being. What we know about authenticity, to some extent, generalizes many properties of the individual. First of all, it is an expression of sincerity towards another. when you show up in relationships as a fake ass bitch, you also saying, I don't even respect you as a human being. So sometimes a person could just stop liking you and stop fucking with you and nothing bad happened. The only thing that bad happened was that you was inauthentic. When a person is inauthentic, you might get in the car with them and the car don't work. The car don't run and the date just don't happen. You got to call AAA, situation don't fall. What happened between us? I was inauthentic. Your ancestors wouldn't allow me to give you my inauthentic, insincere energy, so they put roadblocks in between us. I wasn't going to treat you good no way because I was a piece of shit. Because I wasn't authentic. Because I was trying to be the man that I thought you wanted me to be. And I didn't factor in that authenticity was the most important existential value of a human being. I was trying to be the person that I thought that you wanted me to be. And I'm mad at you because that ain't how life works. And even though it ain't your fault, I'm still not going to take responsibility for my choices. How you gonna sit and say that men ain't shit and you chose the nigga? You didn't seek counsel. You didn't ask no advice. You just said, I like him. I want to be with him. And it ain't work out. Men ain't shit. No. Take personal responsibility for your choices is another way that you become authentic. An authentic person wants to be himself in his immediate reactions and in the holistic behavior. He allows himself not to know all the answers to life questions. So that means you cannot be a hotep and authentic. You can't be spiritual and authentic because spiritual persons love to tell you what spirit has told them. And everything that spirit has told them is facts. As opposed to saying a wise man knows that he knows nothing. I don't know shit. I barely know what's for dinner from day to day. I don't know if a piano is falling out of I just don't know. And I don't care to know. I'm not focused on knowing. I'm just here to spread this authenticity and this spiritual shit. I hope you are enjoying it. Psilocybin and shadow work. Now this is where I get anxidotal. Because I would have to be anxidotal to explain the effects of psilocybin and shadow work. Now y'all know me for talking a lot about shadow work for years and years and years. However, my shadow work grew to a whole nother level in the onset of circumstances outside of my control, for which I began to microdose psilocybin once we came to Detroit. And it was just a thing that I was doing for a long time. But I wasn't doing it to do shadow work. I didn't even know that psilocybin and microdosing and shadow work were related. I was doing microdosing to feel good. I was never doing mushrooms for any form of spirituality or no form of healing. I was doing it strictly to get high, basically, to keep it a buck. So everything that I'm expressing in reference to psilocybin and shadow work was not something that I was attempting to figure out. It was something that was told to me. And the way that it was told to me, and this is why I stopped doing psilocybin, because I felt that I was becoming angry with my wife. And I didn't like that. And I would say every time I microdose, I get angry at you and I don't like it. So I'm done taking it. And so I stopped taking it. And things got back to normal. Some reason or another, I start taking it again. And the same thing happened. But in retrospect, what was happening was that I was developing an authentic and honest conversation with my wife. And the reality, the scary part of it, I'd never done that before. I specifically was trying to be the man that she wanted me to be, and I was trying to live up to that standard. But being in a relationship for a long time, you start to examine the results of your actions. And because I was doing these things, it wasn't equating to what I felt as though I was putting in. But even deeper, if I was thinking this or feeling this, I would never have the conversation with it, because I'm not the ruffle feather type of guy. I'm the smooth sailing, keep everything together type of guy. So me being honest is me putting forth rock the boat energy, and I don't like doing that. But the psilocybin had me specifically do that, and it urged me to continuously to press to have the conversations towards how I authentically and honestly felt without sacrificing or ruining my relationship, but actually bringing us closer because I'm able to have the authentic and real conversation. Would I have been able to do this naturally without psilocybin? If you want my honest opinion, absolutely fucking not. Because I know who I am outside of my authenticity. And the reality is, I'm a bitch ass nigga. I'm a pushover. I'm a type of guy. I'm a simp. I'm a type of guy to make everything go right. I will work 15 jobs to make my wife happy. I will sacrifice my happiness for hers. None of these things are positive things. I would not suggest that to nobody. You need to be able to be honest in your relationships. You need to be able to speak your truth in your relationships without it being the end of the world. You should be able to express your fears in your relationships without it coming to that impending doom. So for me, it allowed me to have the real conversations that I refuse to have. And for some of y'all might not know what psilocybin is or no level. So let's digress and bring it back to a scientific understanding. Psilocybin is a classic psychedelic compound that may have efficacy, let's just say efficiency for the treatment of mood and substance abuse disorders. The efficiency for the treatment of mood and substance abuse disorders. So what we have is millions of people taking fentanyl, taking heroin, taking all of these hard drugs. But at the same time, I honestly and truly feel that at a DNA level, they are taking the magic mushroom. They are taking the psilocybin, but they not actually taking it because they don't have the access to it. What they have access to is the opioid and the Percocet. So because of that, they not actually getting a healing. They not actually getting a direction. But at a DNA subconscious level, they're trying to do the thing that they've done for millennia, because every skin particle that a person has within them have existed for millions of years. So getting high is old shit, but it's just how you get high and why you get high. Getting high for the sake of grandiosity to sit and smoke the most blunts is different from getting high to get into a meditative zone or getting high before you start a creative project. Right? I hope this is making sense. And I hope that I'm connecting the dots for y'all a little bit. Acute psilocybin effects reduce negative mood and increased positive mood, and reduced amygdala response to negative affective stimuli. So the amygdala response for the layman is fight or flight. Fight or flight is when we produce cortisol, adrenaline, and noradrenaline. It's the cocktail, and this cocktail is what we normally do. We're normally in fear. We normally feel as though if we were to ever be our best self, something bad would happen. So we don't become our best self, and we begin to do the things that will put us in the box, not take us outside of the box. And if you don't actually deal with it in a way that you begin to integrate sacred medicines, and we're not talking about because you can do mushrooms and get high and stuff like that. You could get addicted to the psychedelic effects, but we're not talking about that. We're talking specifically about microdosing to begin to exercise the chronic fear that you have in becoming the best version of your best self, because it's going to have you make these little conversations with people, show up in your best self. Now, it might be negative to tell a person how it really is, but at the same time, you will say it to them with a smile, because you're saying it as a space of, this is what I need to say in this moment. This is my authentic truth in this moment. I'm not going to say it because I'm afraid. I'm going to say it because I'm being spiritually led to say it. And not thinking about it either, because you can think about all of this shit that I'm saying and never experience the fact of doing true shadow work and begin to have the true conversations with your mama. Mama, when you did that shit, when I was in college and you stole my money, I respect that. You went to the casino and you lost my money and we never talked about it. I needed that money, mama. I worked hard for that money. But you don't have them conversations with your mama every Thanksgiving. It's be little energy between you and your mama, and y'all ain't never had the conversation. Because you feel like if you had a conversation, she gonna jump bad, and because she gonna jump bad, you not doing the thing that you need to do or having the conversation that you need to have due to fear. So fear becomes the major thread to a lot of what needs to be decomposed. Let's read further. The psilocybin mushroom offers us the opportunity to experience life from a point of amplified emotional, psychological, and spiritual significance. It unlocks a perspective of self and others that is naturally occurring within us. It unlocks a perspective of self and other that is naturally occurring within us, but culturally suppressed to the point of nearly complete omission. When we begin to navigate the vastly novel experiences this substance can provide us, we further enable its potential for not only exposing, but healing the unconscious narratives that hold us back from being our fullest, most courageous, most honest self. In a nutshell, okay? Stop imagining that you are not holding yourself back and you're not actually doing the work. Because your ego and your arrogance is another negative entity that you refuse to deal with and address. So what I'm saying is dive a little deeper, go a little further with your spiritual help. And if you feel like you don't need to go deeper and you don't need to do shadow work and you got it all figured out, then I don't know what the fuck you be listening to my videos for. That's like a plumber listening to an electrician. Cause my shtick, my game is that we are all developing into a situation that we'll never fully develop into. Because we have these human vessels, and the human vessel can't comprehend who we are as a spiritual level. We get little glimpses, little pieces, little energies, little situations, little circumstances based upon us exercising our true and honest and courageous self without letting fear dictate our moves. Not letting fear dictate the conversations, not letting fear create a narrative. So a narrative is a storyline. So if the narrative is based upon fear, then the story is not going to exist outside of the pages. The only thing that's going to happen is whatever is in that actual train of thought or line. And you don't actually know how powerful you are once you remove those barriers that you put inside of yourself. When you throw the book away and you start a completely new book, and not a fucking a novel, but a picture book. A picture based upon your sincere spiritual emotions that you haven't really discovered yet because you haven't done the shadow work. Everything that you've thought about yourself has been filtered through the ego, and the ego is going to die. You have to do the shadow work to separate from the ego, get to the pure spirit, and it's completely different. And this is your fullest, most courageous, most honest self. And the reality is that you don't know that person yet. And this is why we take the psilocybin to reach and find the God within. When you get into the science of psilocybin, which is an ethnogen is translated specifically to the God within. So the psilocybin usage is for you to have the conversation specifically with the God within. But this is drug usage as a whole. It's only that alcohol is not going to do it for us. Excuse me. Heroin is not going to do it for us. Especially the chemical made compounds and the Mexican drug cartels and things of that nature. You need to figure out, you can start your own little situation with small amounts of money. You can start growing your own situation. And develop your own medicine cabinet and create your own microdose capsules. And I'm saying all of this so you don't have to depend on nobody for your actual medicine. And the conversations that come about, of course, you're going to have to educate yourself and learn and be patient and develop the skill or the green thumb supporting the growth and cultivation of psilocybin. But if you really want to do it, you could actually do it, is all I'm saying. But you got to really feel like I'm getting closer to the God within, and I'm not doing this to get high. I'm actually being scientific and medical and research based with my own specific soul. Entheogens are psychoactive substances that induce alterations in perception, mood, consciousness, cognition, or behavior for the purposes of engendering spiritual development or otherwise in sacred context. So you got to really understand, when you're trying to do spiritual things, you're trying to develop your spiritual self, but you're also understanding that within you, inside of you, is the God-Goddess complex energy. And if you can't see it, it's because you probably got a lot of fear and a lot of darkness. And this is the shadow work that we're doing. Some people meditate and work with their spirit intently for years and never get anything. The reason why is because you can't be doing this spiritual shit with the hope for results. I'm saying going here with the proper intention of getting Be sincere about wanting to connect to your higher self and your inner God, and don't give up on it. And this is not new shit. I'm showing you shit that other people have wrote on the actual subject. Before y'all start to thinking that I'm some great spiritual mystical guru, I'm just a regular person that was on Google and I did some screen captures. Anybody can do this. I'm just saying that it's not that big of a deal as much as it is as you eliminating your fear or understanding the process of it. Frequently, peoples of many cultures, and some of y'all got shrooms right now and y'all just be using them to fuck your girl extra longer at night. You ain't even thinking about no spiritual benefits of the mushrooms. You just know it make you a little bit more hornier and sex is a little bit more lit. Could care less about the spiritual benefit. So we not talking about that either. Frequently, peoples of many cultures use plants and mushrooms in group rituals to alter consciousness, to commune with the gods, or to stay alert while engaged in long hunting expeditions. Or they are used individually to stimulate vision quests, to sleep, or treat pain and wounds. Entheogen refers to God within us. These plant substances that, when ingested, give one a divine experience. In the past, they commonly called these hallucinogens, psychedelics, or psychotomimetics. This ain't me saying it. That's Wasson in 1988. I was 4 years old when this man was typing this. Wasn't even off the porch yet. You feel me? This is old information. So, but it's new to me for real, for real. I really was sleeping on it, actually. Even when I was taking it, I was making that joke about the dudes that want to, really, I was just taking it to, get litty. One thinking that I was doing nothing spiritual. So I'm saying all of this to say it's easy to just take shrooms and be, oh, I feel so good. I'm not talking about that. I'm trying my best to not talk about it. That's why I've given so much backstory and so much buildup before I start talking about it, because it's truly, truly sacred to me, the whole entire process. From one point of view, the transcendent other, or the shadow, is nature correctly perceived to be alive and intelligent. From another, it is the awesomely unfamiliar union of all of the senses with memory of the past and anticipation of the future. The transcendent other, or shadow, is what one encounters on powerful hallucinogens. It is the crucible of the mystery of our being, both as a species and as individuals. The transcendent other, or the shadow, is nature without her cheerfully reassuring mask of ordinary space, time, and casuality. You will trip the fuck out when you realize that within you is all of this power and all of this energy. However, normal mundane life don't give you that energy, do it? It make you feel like it's boring, is nothing happening. And that's because you're not looking in the right direction. You got to look within yourself. Now, if you look within yourself and all you see is darkness and boring, then you're going to give up. But as I said, your greatest mysteries is in your shadow work. Your greatest mysteries is found within you. But if you give up on this shit, then you just gave up on the shit. And it's like, if you stop working out or if you stop doing the thing that you need to do, then it just isn't going to manifest for you. If you stop cultivating your garden, your plants is not going to grow. But if you cultivate it, if you pay attention to it, and if you take it seriously, and you begin to look within yourself as having God within you, then it starts to be something that's serious, and you don't drop it. You don't give it up. You start to charge your energy. You start to be in nature. You start to immerse yourself in nature. You begin to be guided by a force that you did not know it was there. This is the result of psychedelic experiences. Now, I've actually took psychedelics for a long time. As I began to start to think about it, I have to think about my first time ever trying psychedelics and psilocybin. And when I first did it, it was completely underwhelming. But in retrospect, it was completely the situation or spiritual occurrence that really started my spiritual journey. So I'll just share that with you guys to just give you more background or more understanding of the things that you read about psilocybin, but also give you a firsthand experience or occurrence of what it was like when I experienced the thing that you may or may not read about trying or indulging in psilocybin. So I was working at the hotel doing valet, and I was working with this dude named Paul, and me and Paul, we got an assignment to go to St. Louis, and I didn't have a car at the time, so I drove with Paul. And during this time, I was really interested in psychedelics and wanting to experience, but I had no plug. And something made me just start talking about psychedelics with Paul. Long story short, Paul was the plug. Paul had everything. So he laced me up with some. The next day at work or whatever, I bought some shrooms from him. And at the same time I took the shrooms, it was the same day as the Asian Fest. So I was like, well, if I'm going to take these shrooms, I want to do something festive, right? I'm not just about to sit in my room and just kind of be brandy today. I'm going to get out and about and see the world. So I went to the Asian Fest in Columbus. And it was on Broad Street at Franklin Park. And there's a lot of cars there, you know, hella cars, no parking for real. Like motherfuckers is walking at least 2 and 3 miles at this point to get there, right? Parking all on the streets and shit. And Lord knows I just didn't want to do it. But as I'm pulling up to the event, a car right in front leaves. So I pull right into the spot, which was a blessing. But another thing was it was a van, and the van had a spare tire on it, and the spare tire had a cover, and that cover was a picture of an elephant. And I've always been interested in Ganesha and all of that. Like, I was familiar with it. And I was thinking to myself, that's pretty far out that Ganesha opened up a way for me to get this parking spot in the front. So, long story short, I don't feel no effects of the psychedelics at all. So that's why I felt like the mushrooms was weak or whack. But as I think about it, they was actually high powered. It just wasn't like, you know, spaced out or nothing like that, but the experience is still with me to this day. So I go to, like, you know, any type fairs or festivals. I'm always looking for the Botanica type store or the spiritual store, because I like to just invest in companies or whatever. So I find a store and the dude is talking to me. And mind you, at this time, I'm not the hood mystic. I'm just a regular guy for the most part, just working. And he's just telling me all of this stuff about myself. You a Buddha, you an ascended master, you gonna heal a lot of people. And I'm just like, I received it but I received it so strongly, and I felt like that was the first time. But when I think about it, I always wanted somebody to tell me that, right? So much of my life, people told me that I wasn't shit or whatever, just by, ignoring me or whatever. And I just felt like I just wanted to be told that I had a spiritual place in this world. And the owner of that spiritual store, he told me that. And even deeper, he gave me a necklace, and you're not even going to believe who was on the necklace. Ganesha. Now, Ganesha in Hindu mythology is the opener of the way. He initiates. He is the one who sets it off, right? Opens up the path opener, the obstacle remover. And that's exactly what he did for me in real life. And that is a real story of taking psilocybin and being specifically guided by spiritual energy. And when you read up on psilocybin, it's going to tell you shit like this, like it will lead you or guide you and show you spiritual significant events and stuff like that. And at this point, that's my whole entire life. But at that time, it wasn't. It literally was the opening to my spiritual life, but it was so subtle and so low key that I could only reflect on the actual experience to find the profundity of it. At that time, because I was in my lower self and I probably just wanted to link up with a girl, that I was not going to receive the actual experience at the spiritual light because my consciousness was so low. But even still, you can have a low consciousness and spirits can still help you and assist you. Is only to the point of just knowing when you're ready. Okay. And sometimes you just ready at your own time in your own spot. So I just wanted to share that with y'all. When you're doing your own science and you're doing your own due diligence, and it's like, well, it can lead you to spiritual things. It literally will. Another thing, and I wouldn't be ethical if I didn't explain to y'all the concept of a bad trip. And this happens when people take psilocybin and it's not all roses. It's not all party, have fun. A bad trip, unfortunately or fortunately, is you coming face to face with your shadow self. And as we stated earlier, everyone has a shadow. So at some point when taking psilocybin, you have to deal with your shadow self. This is taken from the book Decomposing the Shadow. And this is a book specifically talking about how psilocybin helps you do shadow work. Just to further the point of what I've already stated. And these are things that I know and experience, and I don't need to read these books. I could literally tell y'all this shit, but I just want to show y'all that other people see the same shit that I be seeing and thinking and feeling too. They just write books about it. So often the psilocybin experiences that facilitate this connection with God arise through the process of facing and dealing with the flood of severely uncomfortable emotions, sometimes misunderstood as bad trips. It is through this uncomfortable process we can gain the most beneficial results of exploring the healing capacities of psilocybin. Okay? So where you think it's hard and you think that, the spiritual shit is hard, people just not telling you how to actually do it. They're playing on your weaknesses. They're playing on your ignorances. And I'm not trying to do that. I'm trying to lay it out from the rooter to the tutor of how you get one with God. And I wouldn't have never even knew that I was doing it if I just wasn't the type of nigga that just enjoy getting a little trippy from time to time. I'm keeping it a buck with y'all. I would have never even been talking about psilocybin on my channel because I didn't think that it was even related to none of the shit that I was doing spiritually. But spirituality is way more smarter than me. The reality of psilocybin is that it has had everything to do with my channel from the inception of my channel to the moment that I'm talking to y'all in this moment. Because spirituality is smarter than me. I don't know shit. Okay? My mind is always blown by this shit. So we're finishing up. Thank y'all for tuning in and tapping into this edition of Conscious News Network. You know, just working title, just trying out some different things and letting spirit guide me into conversations that feel most comfortable, most authentic with me. I really do hope y'all enjoy it, as I've put in a lot of energy and a lot of effort into creating this content. And the reason that I did do this is so that y'all can enjoy it. So hopefully it's working out for the both of us. When you think about stagnancy and you think about repression, I want you to also start to think about your energy not flowing. And when you think about having a successful relationship or a successful situation in your life, you have to always think about you sending your energy to and fro, give and go, right? If ever you're in a situation and somebody is hoarding energy or somebody is not showing you their authentic self, then they're giving you a half-ass version and you are way too powerful to exist in halfway energy, right? Way too powerful. So let's talk about the energy flow in reference to shadow work. When we let our sexual energy flow, it is vital to our health and well-being. Our sexual energy is our chi, our ki, our life force energy, and our vitality. When we repress our sexual energy or our shadow, this leads to stagnancy, anger, frustration, health issues, sexual dysfunctions, and so many other negative side effects. When you deal with the shadow work workbook, you'll get to a point where it is talking about developing intimacy with yourself, because this is the true sexual energy. Not the sexual energy that you have for a sexy ass person, because that's unrelated to something external. When you talk about internal true spirituality and true sexual energy, it's completely tied into shadow work. Some people think that sexual energy is completely related to having a wonderful sexual experience with somebody that you met on Tinder. But the reality of sexual energy is that it always exists, whether you having sex or not. But when we suppress our sexual energy and we don't show up as our authentic self and share our potential and share our love with other people, then we're in the energy of repressing it. And this is why our relationships tend to be difficult. And what this is doing is setting us all up for the next edition of Spiritual Shit, is where we start to examine the beauty of shadow work in relationships. As I stated earlier, if it haven't been for psilocybin and shadow work, I don't know where my relationship would be at. Maybe I would just be, living in a catatonic zombie-like state in the space of not being able to communicate my truth. But on the other side of it, it feels so good to just be completely in my truth with my wife, be as honest as I possibly can about everything that I'm experiencing, because I'm honestly experiencing it. And there's no reason for me to hold myself back in my relationships. But we're going to examine this more deeply. But I just want y'all to begin to understand that if you are in a relationship and you imagine that, you don't have to do shadow work in your relationship. You know what I'm saying? You could wait for it, but please don't wait for it. Start to engage now. Start to develop honest and authentic conversations with your partners and the people that you're in relationships with, because if that brings about a change or a negative circumstance, or they want to get rid of you, or it don't work out, then you want to figure that shit out now. You don't want to waste time with a person that you can't be authentic with. Okay? So this is, the next frontier, developing shadow work within your relationships. Right now, I'm offering shadow work consultations. That link will also be in my description, as well as all of the articles and related to the information that I laid out for y'all today. This has been a podcast form, meaning that I was really doing this whole entire podcast for the audio, but I just decided to share it with my YouTube subscribers. So, hopefully y'all got some value out of this information and out of this share. Just be looking forward to more content like this. And if you any specific stories, because I'm not going to be able to see everything. I want to start doing some reaction videos. So maybe it's a video that you want me to react to. Go ahead and email me at hoodmystic@gmail.com or DM me at the hoodmystic on Instagram. But yeah, I'm just doing different shit with my channel and it feels good. I'm not doing this channel in the space of fear and caring about what people are going to think. I'm going to be my authentic self and share the many different aspects of me. I got a lot of different sides to my personality, and I just thank y'all for, sitting and, disseminating all this information with me, because you got to be a real live nerd to really be sitting here absorbing this information. But I was really interested in it. It really was motivating me and keeping me going. So hopefully it's doing the same thing for you. But it's getting late, super late. I'm about to head up out of here and listen to this podcast and see how crazy I sounded. But with all of that being said, y'all have a wonderful evening, morning, day, afternoon, wherever this video finds you. I'm the Hood Mystic, representing hoodmystic.com, learnsiderio.com, and of course, columbianexchange.com.